Hello everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of the Women's Fishing Network, brought to you by Goes to 11 Media. I am your Tuesday host, Amanda Weeb. You can find me on Instagram at Wild Girls Alberta. We're back. It's the first episode of 2022, and we are pretty excited to be digging into the new year, bringing you guys some fresh, new, exciting content. And we hope you guys will come along for the ride and enjoy and learn. Today, we're going to be talking about tip-up fishing versus jawjackers, which is automatic hook setter. It's going to be a little bit of an educational bit, so hang out with me and hopefully you guys will learn something. Okay, so each province in Canada has their own specific set of rules pertaining to how many lines you're allowed to have on the ice. I only know specifically for Alberta, you're allowed to have 2 lines, which offers the opportunity to use either a dead stick or some sort of hooking device. Could be an automatic hook setter or a tip up. And it's a really great way of utilizing that second line. It means, you can get out on the ice, you can punch your holes, and you can automatically set up that first line so that you can kind of hands-free get everything else set up and going, but be fishing at the same time. Now, I don't claim to be an expert, obviously. I will say that I strive to be open-minded. I strive to constantly be learning. So, a lot of the information that I put forward to you guys is opinion-based. This is my personal opinion. So, take it as that. Hopefully this, I can impart some wisdom on you guys to help you make good decisions moving forward as anglers. But yeah, that being said, don't take the things that I say for gospel. This is just my personal preference. So first up, I'm going to show you guys what would be considered a traditional style of tip-up. The way this tip-up would work is that you would place this over your hole, suspending your spool under the ice. You would drop down the desired amount of line so that your bait is suspended at wherever you'd like it to be in the water column. Could be, a couple inches off the bottom, laying on the bottom, wherever you want it. I typically use minnows, but you can use kind of whatever bait you'd like. So once you have your desired depth, you would hook your flag into that little slot there, and there it sits. And then when a fish comes along and hopefully takes your bait and puts any kind of tension on that spool at all, causes your spool to spin and your flag to release, which would then notify you that you hopefully have a fish on the end of your line. Now, I recently learned this year the dangers of using a traditional tip-up. It can definitely affect the mortality rate of the fish. When you're leaving a bait suspended and unattended like that, the fish has the opportunity to partially or wholly ingest your bait, which means they're also ingesting the hooks. So when you go and you set your hook, it can happen fairly often that you're gut hooking that fish. And if you're not planning to keep that fish as table fare, it can definitely injure or kill that fish, which is a shame, especially when, for someone like myself, I'm only doing sport fishing, which is catch and release. I want to be as kind and as gentle to those fish as possible. Now, that being said, that was something that pushed me in the direction of using an automatic hook setter, like a jawjacker, or I, built one for myself last year, homemade. Basically the concept of the automatic hook setter is that when your fish is taking the bait, there's tension on the rod that's preloaded, so that as soon as that releases, it's automatically setting that hook, hopefully just in the lip of the fish, which makes for a much cleaner, much more humane catch than a tip-up. So I'm going to walk you through how to set up and use a jawjacker. I'm fairly new at it myself. I just recently purchased one. I'll also show you how my homemade one works. And hopefully it will inspire some of you guys to get out there and pick up some of this equipment for yourselves, because they're pretty deadly. So this is the jawjacker that I recently purchased. There are a couple of companies that do similar designs. After having done some research on the quality and durability of the products, this is the one I chose to go with. So far I'm super impressed. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to set this guy up. They come with these little pressure pins that you just pull out, slide the rod arm forward, and then there's 3 different angles that you can set your rod to sit at. I like to set it in the middle. So your rod seat obviously would sit in there, and then there's 7 different size settings that you can adjust this arm to. I just generally start somewhere in the middle until I have my rod seated in and know what length I need it to be. Got these 2 handy arms that come out. A real cool feature of these is they have this spike that you set out and poke into the ice. It keeps this thing from sliding around on you. Yeah, so this is it in its full setup form. And next I will show you what it's like to put the rod in there and set the rod up and have it rigged and ready to go. So all of the jaw jackers come with 2 of these handy little loops. So you take the loop and you thread it through this little sidebar on the eyelet on the tip of your rod. Bear with me, this is a struggle for me. That's the first time I've got it, first try. I'm so proud of myself. So that's what it'll look like once you have it attached, at which point you set your rod into the base of the jaw jacker. Okay, so we're going to set the length for this rod. So you're going to pull this pin out. You want to bend your rod tip down to where you think your desired bend would be. I can see that I'm a little bit short there. So I'm going to slide the arm forward and probably set it at a 4. So replace that pin. Now you've got your desired length set. Just double check that. Yeah, it looks to be good. Okay, so this is the trigger loop. This is what you set the jaw jacker with. So you're going to bend your rod down, catch that little red loop, and then lift up that, and that sets your trigger. Now you would have your line stretch out over that trigger, and then when the time comes and a fish strikes, just make sure we're free of everything here. That would have been a disaster. It sets the hook for you. Give you guys a further out look. So when a fish bites and pulls that tip down, it launches your rod tip up and sets the hook. So things to be considerate of when you're using a jaw jacker is that when you're setting the jaw jacker and your rod's loaded like that, you don't want to be standing over it at any time. You will get smacked in the face and it does not feel good. So yeah, you want to be very wary of that. You can adjust the sensitivity of your trigger. If you're fishing for a lighter species like trout or perch, you can lower that sensitivity so that a lighter bite will set it off. And you can tighten that up a little bit when you're going for bigger species so that you really want to make sure that that bait is inside the fish's mouth before it can set your jaw jacker off. I took this thing out this weekend and I did miss a fair amount of bites on it. I am obviously still learning how to use this thing, but I think adjusting the tension on that probably would have yielded better results. Something that I really like about the jaw jacker is that it allows you to still fight the fish. Unlike a tip up where you're hand lining that fish in when you snag into one, the jaw jacker allows you to take the rod with the fish on the end and still fight it, which is half the fun. For any of you that have looked at or invested in the jaw jackers, we know that they are not cheap. They're pretty steep price tag for a piece of fishing equipment. The one that I purchased on the weekend was $74, which is kind of shocking because the prices increased quite significantly from last year. So last year I was not 100% sold on them and didn't want to invest the money, so I just made one for myself. This is a great avenue to take if you're looking to save some money but want the same experience. Yeah, so I'm going to show you how this one sets up. It's quite similar, obviously. But yeah, it took me about 20 minutes to make and cost all in maybe like $5 and yields pretty much identical results. So I'm going to set this bad boy up and show you guys how it works. Okay, so obviously looking at it at first glance, it's a very similar setup to the jaw jacker. So yeah, you bend your rod tip down. I made this fancy trigger device out of a coat hanger. Don't want to brag, I'm basically an engineer now. But yeah, so you loop this hook through the tip of your rod, and then your line goes through there. You can adjust the sensitivity on this one as well. If you want lighter sensitivity, you just put less of the hook through your eyelet, and then same kind of idea, a fish bites on the end of it and releases that hook, thus setting the hook on the fish, hopefully. So as I've said, I'm 99.9% of the time a catch and release angler. So the health and mortality of these fish is very important to me. I think sustainability and accountability are a massive part of the angling world, and so I like to do my part by being as kind and gentle to the fish that I'm catching as possible. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of these automatic hook setters. I personally don't think that I would go back to tip-off fishing. Perhaps if I intended on keeping what I was catching, or if I was going for, absolute monsters or something like that, I would reconsider, but I'm quite happy with the two setups that I have, and yeah, they yield really great results. So I highly recommend them to anybody, and if you haven't tried using an automatic hook setter, I definitely suggest that you give it a whirl. I think it will change your perspective on dead sticking. So yeah, hopefully that was informative for you guys. Hopefully you guys took something from this and will apply it to your own life as an angler. Okay guys, that's going to be it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode and got a little bit educated. But yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Ghost to 11 Media for all that you do. 2021 was great, and I very much look forward to 2022 and to continuing to work with you guys and with the other gals. Yeah, and thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Really looking forward to what our working relationship will be in the coming year. Excited to put out really great fresh content using all of these amazing products and tools that we are so graciously supplied with. So yeah, hopefully the next time you see me, I'm going to be on the ice. We've had some unusual weather. It's been blisteringly cold, so it's been tough to get out. But yeah, looking forward to bringing some hot, fresh fishing content your way. So thanks so much, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.